do.
Welcome back to another episode of Fantasy Football RPG. I'm Mike. That's Jake. That's Evan. You guys should know that by now. If you don't, hit like and subscribe. Today, we're talking about the safest assets in Dynasty Fantasy Football, whether it's the top players, ones that we just feel good about their contract security. Before we talk about the specific names, I want to just put a little question out there. What makes, for example, a quarterback safe to you? Evan, we'll start over with you.
Man, so it's two separate criteria for me. One, it's the rushing quarterback. You take a couple examples that we'll go over in a little bit here. Having that high touchdown floor in the red zone for them being able to rush in, them having the bodies to be able to absorb the blows. You're either looking for yardage or touchdowns. People will say touchdowns aren't sticky stats. Totally understand. But if you have a quarterback that continuously is getting 8+ rushing touchdowns a year, that's a huge boost. And then they just need to be a competent passer at that point. It's either that or I'm looking for the uber high volume type of quarterbacks. We're talking 575 attempts plus, maybe even 580 in today's NFL to be able to go after. Now, there is caveats with that. You got to look for a couple other things, which when you're in those high volume offenses, you also want the touchdowns because typically those passers are not going to be the rushers, so they're going to have to make their hay in the passing game.
So it sounds to me like Sam Howell in 2023 would have been your ideal safe quarterback. I love to hear that. Jake, what makes a safe quarterback for you?
Yeah, I think for me, it's a combination of things. So obviously the on-field production plays a big part of it. I lean, the same way as Evan. You either need to be a rushing quarterback who runs for a lot of yards and scores a lot of touchdowns on the ground to make up the points, or you need to be like highest of high volume passers to be able to put up those true high ceiling seasons. But also, I think part of the discussion should boil down to the types of quarterbacks and the quarterbacks themselves that hold value regardless of situation changing around them. So I think a kind of a perfect example of that is Patrick Mahomes. Like Patrick Mahomes, we all probably would agree he's quarterback one, if not quarterback two in the actual NFL. His fantasy production has been nowhere near that for quite some time now, but he still kind of remains in that top echelon of quarterbacks just because we know how good he is in football. We know he's not going anywhere. So I think when you're talking about safe, kind of that insulated value that some of these guys have has to be considered as part of it.
Yeah, I think quarterbacks for me, it's the contract security that comes with being good at football. So if my eye test or, the average person's eye test is able to watch like, hey, this Patrick Mahomes fella, pretty good. Like, Joe Burrow, pretty good. Lamar Jackson, pretty good. Then you pair that with a long-term contract because sometimes to see a flash in the pan, you'll be like, man, I'm pretty sure CJ Stroud is good. And we're all pretty sure CJ Stroud is good. But the variance that comes with no long-term contract, no playoff success, I know we don't get fantasy points for those things, but they do kind of insulate that dynasty value. So now that we've talked about what makes a quarterback safe, Evan, who is a safe top quarterback to you?
Yeah, so safe top quarterback to me, I'm going to immediately go to the high volume, high production type of quarterback here. And I'm going to immediately go for Joe Burrow. You look at him, he had 652 pass attempts last season. He had 606 in 2022 and then 520 in 2021. 2021 was a little bit of a down volume year, but you look at the weapons that he has around him on the outside. That 22 and that 24 season were the number 4 and number 3 finish, according to Fantasy Pros. So you pair all that together with 4,400 plus yards and 4,900 plus yards with 35 touchdowns in 22 and 43 in 24. I mean, these are ungodly stats for a quarterback. Just airing it out. Defense is probably going to be horrible again this year. You continue to look at, hey, what team is throwing in neutral pass situations? That's what we're going with. We're going with Joe Burrow. Going to continue to air it out. The offense has weapons. The defense sucks. And what's the running game? We'll find out. The season's going to play a lot out for that for us.
Yeah, completely fair. I think Joe Burrow, one of the safest names, also big fat contract, defense stinks, contracts for his receivers. There's a lot of stability in that offense surrounding him to go with the talent that we all believe in. Jake, who's a quarterback that comes to mind for you?
Yeah, I think mine kind of immediately obviously goes to basically the consensus top 5, but I feel like that's pretty chalk, and I don't want to go that route. So the way I actually lean here a little bit, I'm going to go somebody like Caleb Williams, a very hyped prospect who came out, was a consensus top quarterback in his class, came out, had a really solid rookie year, but also you have to think about they're getting the benefits of having a guy like Ben Johnson come in and take over that offense, knowing that they're going to be in the position, the kind of the rumored 2 consensus top players that are going to go to Chicago based off of mock draft so far are Ashton Genty and Tyler Warren. So you know he's going to get benefits there. They've made a lot of investments in the offensive line. But part of my thought too goes back to that insulated value. This is the number 1 overall pick in the NFL. We've seen guys who aren't the number 1 overall pick in the NFL, who are simply just first round picks, maintain value for 2 to 3 to 4 years, even if they haven't been superstars on the field. So someone like him kind of fits that mold of safe to me, where I never really feel bad acquiring this guy because he's super young, very talented. We're likely going to see improvements in year 2. So I'd rather consider him safe and buy lower while people are still lowish on him before he takes that ascension into kind of that top tier of quarterbacks.
Yeah, I like the idea that the pick value is going to provide some insulation and then what is going on around them. Like Caleb Williams could have a medium year and we're still going to be like, well, give him another year in the system. Let's see what happens. He could flame out for the Bears. Oh, well, let's see what he does for the next team. Number 1 picks get more tries than other players. I was going to throw a softball out there and be like, hey, this Josh Allen guy, pretty safe, pretty good. Let's talk about another player that is safe, but dynasty managers are afraid of him, Trevor Lawrence. Look, he's not going to be a free agent until 2030 unless they decide to cut him. The earliest out they have is after the 2027 season. So you're getting 3 years of a former number 1 overall pick with a new head coach who's a very good offensive mind. And the system around here, like Jacksonville, not the sexiest of places, but Brian Thomas Jr. is good. There's rumors that they're going to take an offensive player at 5 overall. We'll see how that plays out. If you're watching after the draft, don't ruin it for me. I can't wait to see. But we want to see the contract security, the talent. I still believe that Trevor Lawrence is good. He's safe, but he's kind of boring because he hasn't done the superstar thing yet. So he's just going to continue to float around. Maybe he's a QB2. Maybe he has a couple of QB1 seasons and vaults back up there. But as it stands now, he's safe and boring, and that's what this episode is all about.
I kind of feel like Kyler Murray deserves a shout too, because he fits a lot of those same molds. He provides that rushing upside. We've seen elite fantasy seasons out of him. Yeah, last year kind of was meh. The tape wasn't great, but also, have you guys watched Greg Dortch and the corpse of whoever else was playing wide receiver play wide receiver?
Michael Wilson slander. Don't stand for it.
I'll stand for it. I'll stand on it. I'll die on that hill. I'll go get the body armor on again. I'll start making arguments if I have to. But a guy like him, again, the contract is huge. He is locked into that team for quite some time now. He's not going anywhere. And I know he's got top 5 quarterback upside because we've seen him do it before.
Yep. He is also locked down through 2027 with a team option in 2028. So there's a world where Kyler Murray just hangs around the Cardinals because they don't have a better option, which sounds like the Arizona thing to do. Evan, go ahead.
I was going to say, just real quick, Jake, go into your Caleb Williams shout out here. Do you not feel that if Caleb Williams has a mid-season, which for a mid-season for Caleb Williams, we're probably talking high-end QB2 production. Like everybody thinks that he's going to take off because of Ben Johnson. Everybody thinks he's going to take off because the offensive line was upgraded. Everybody thinks he's going to take off because it's his sophomore season, going to have a full off season under his belt to be able to fully learn the offense, figure out everything new with it, everything that goes into all of that baked into his QB7 prices. Do you not feel like that's an asset that if he doesn't produce as expected, which is already sky high expectations, he's going to be dropping precipitously?
He could be, and it's a good point to make, but I also think that fantasy managers in general and fantasy markets in general really undervalue the benefit of having a guy who is just consistently high-end quarterback 2, low-end quarterback 1. Like nobody talks about buying Jared Goff because it's boring, but the guy puts up numbers pretty much every year.
By Jared Goff.
By Jared Goff. A guy like Matthew Stafford, again, I was told that Kenny Pickett, after 2 years of him being garbage, was worth more than Matthew Stafford by half of Twitter. Matthew Stafford went out, had another solid, not spectacular season by any means, but he put up numbers for fantasy. He's still going to keep doing it. So I think that kind of player, that archetype that you're talking about, is very undervalued. We're not talking like a Bryce Young level season here, but we're talking like a, I don't know, Baker, like upside Baker. I'll buy those quarterbacks all day, every day.
Love that. Love the conversation. We're going to switch gears a little bit over to running backs and what makes a safe running back. I know that is a scary, scary term in the Dynasty streets, but Evan, what makes a safe running back to you?
Man, okay. This comes down to a couple things. It comes down to one, offensive line play for me. It's crazy how much Dynasty gamers don't look at offensive line play. I think that is one of the biggest things that everybody was telling you Saquon is going to be in a timeshare in this backfield because that's historically what the Eagles have done. But what do the Eagles have that no other team has in the league? Hands down, the best run blocking unit around. Best run blocking unit in a decade.
The
maybe?
Lions might like a word, but yeah,
Oh,
I get what you're saying.
All right. So you put all of that together, and then you look at the fact that, Eagles are running at over a 50% clip. That's huge. So I'm looking at a team that is pushing the run heavily. You look at Green Bay. Historically, LaFleur has done that as well. These are offenses that are rather predictable, offenses that are going to be going to whoever their lead back is. You look at LA. LA is a perfect example with McVay there. He loves to just pound whatever back is in his backfield. He is going to run them. It's the reason that Kyron Williams has had the production numbers that he is happening. So this to me is less about specific players and more about offensive tendencies. You can say that running backs are special. Some of them are, but there's very few that are truly so special that even in low volumes, they can still be incredibly high producers for fantasy.
That makes sense. Jake, what makes a safe running back to you?
I'm going to actually go a little bit of a flip side here and say that the only safe running back assets are handcuffs. Having a guy that, especially handcuffs that have some semblance of role themselves already, like if it's in a split backfield, like a prime example is most people probably going into last season would have considered a guy like Bucky Irving a handcuff. Going into this year, we're probably considering Rachaad White the handcuff. Rachaad's a guy who's still going to maintain a role. He's still a far superior pass blocker to Bucky Irving. He's still the better pass catcher. He's just not as good of a runner, but he's going to have a role. If Bucky goes down, if anything happens to Bucky, we get Rachaad White immediately into a high value, high octane role like we've seen him in before, in probably a better offensive system. His running metrics were a lot better last year. Going back to Evan's point, the offensive line just ran block a lot better. It was just a far superior performance from that year, from the year prior to last year. But a guy like that who has some standalone value, but also has that handcuff upside is the safest investment you can make in running back, because you're not paying much to get in the door there, but you're also not losing much if it doesn't work out. But the gain potential of it is arguably the highest of any position in football.
Yeah, I think the security versus the price, that makes a ton of sense. I'm going to go all the way on the other end of the spectrum from Evan. I think the individual talent of running backs is what makes them safe, because we can talk about contract security. We can talk about the system. All of those things, disappear all of the time. What really matters is this player good? And then is that player good in a way that they can catch passes that will give you that weekly security? When we talk about year after year, there's going to be running backs that continue to get jobs because they're just talented players. And this isn't, I'm not looking for the home run hitter. I'm not always talking about a Jonathan Taylor. Sometimes it's a guy that can just reduce negative plays. So we're talking about the David Montgomerys, the Najee Harrises, the Josh Jacobs. We like to make fun of them as fantasy football managers, but they turn a 1-yard loss into a 4-yard gain. That keeps them on the field, that keeps them getting volume, that keeps them in starting roles in different systems. And when you add all of those things together, that is a safe asset to me. And I think there's going to be a couple of those guys coming out in the 2025 draft. With that, Evan, who is a quote-unquote safe running back to you?
Yeah, it's not very sexy, but it's the Green Bay running back. Their offensive line is underrated, especially for that division. They get completely overshadowed by the Detroit Lions. Josh Jacobs is a volume king. He can catch passes out of the backfield. He's probably not the smoothest receiver out of the backfield, but LaFleur loves to run the football. And for that, I want to say just the Packers running back in general. Whoever is the lead back in that backfield, season in, season out, historically, I wanted Aaron Jones when he was on the Packers. You look at that, I want Josh Jacobs now that he's on the Packers. You pair all of that together, LaFleur loves to play slow. He loves to run the football. He loves to pound it in the red zone. These are all things that are great. People are saying there's going to be touchdown regression. Will there be? I don't know. Josh Jacobs can score touchdowns. He has a nose for the end zone. LaFleur loves to just take care of his running backs because he loves to utilize them. And he utilizes them as much as he can, and then he moves on after the contract.
Yeah, I think Jacobs is in for the same volume. Do you worry at all about the age cliff with some of these guys?
Look, Jacobs isn't that old, all right? He's been in the league. He's been talked about for so many years already. Age cliff, sure, you do start wondering about it, but until I see a 3 at the start of a running back's age, I'm not worrying about that.
Okay. Jake, who is your safe running back you'd like to bring to the group?
Yeah, I'm going to go with a guy that you brought up, David Montgomery. Again, just a guy, standalone role, especially in that offense. Will that change given that Ben Johnson's gone? I don't imagine it's going to change too much. I'm pretty sure they stayed in-house for their offensive coordinator. So I think we're going to see a lot of carryover there. But again, a guy with standalone value, going to get his volume, using the passing game, scores those touchdowns, but also just gets into an absolutely elite role if something were to happen to Jahmyr Gibbs. He's kind of the ultimate safe running back for me. And I think people forget that David Montgomery actually had his best seasons in terms of fantasy points per game finishes in Chicago. So we're not even seeing like truly the ceiling of what David Montgomery has been capable of in his career. Talking about a guy who's got a top 6 finish on his career, one top 12. The last 2 years have been top 16. Outside of true down years, and one down year in 2022 in his rookie year, this guy's been a consistent producer who showed no signs of slowing down and really no signs of going anywhere.
Yep. This is like the perfect blend. Like he's kind of a handcuff, but he also has a standalone role. I love that.
And I just want to make a comment real quick on the age cliff thing that you brought up.
Yeah.
In my opinion, you should never be thinking more than 2 years out at the absolute max when it comes to running back. If you want to think about other positions in farther windows, yes. I truthfully look at running back as a year-by-year position, especially because often the guys that are those older guys like a Josh Jacobs, like an Aaron Jones, like Derrick Henry's probably a bit of an outlier there, but you don't have to make the same investment to get these guys, but they're going to give you the production. Running back is you have the job until you don't kind of position. And these guys are all going to have jobs until they truly cannot play competent football anymore.
I know. The age cliff thing is so funny because in a 2-year window, it's super predictable, a lot of fun. I'm going to go 3 years back. So this is 2022. Austin Eckler, running back 1. Nick Chubb, running back 6. Ramondre Stevenson, running back 7. Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette, Jamal Williams, all Miles. You don't know 3 years out with running backs. So just take the guy with the role now, make sure that they have a good enough production profile that they can continue that if they lose their contract. But dude, they get old weird. So I'm going to bring up a rookie as a safe option. I know that that's not ideal, but TreVeyon Henderson, the way that his skill set works, Jake, I know you're going to love this. Electric pass blocker. No, yes, I combined electric and pass blocker. Look, pound for pound, he's the best pass blocker in this class. A coach is going to love that. It's going to earn him a role on the field. What is the second best thing that he's good at? Taking the ball, getting in space, getting up the field. When you combine those two things, this is a guy that's going to get a lot of miles out of the NFL. Coaches are going to love him. He's going to get the high-value touches that we want, especially in those PPR leagues. And I think that TreVeyon Henderson is going to stick around the NFL for a while.
I have an ungodly amount of money on TreVeyon Henderson to be a first round pick at plus money. And I feel so good about it because of exactly what you said. Like, we watch Brian Robinson. He's boring, but he kind of does everything well. Yep. If the NFL has showed us one thing at running back, if you're not the elitist of elite rushers or athletes, if you can do everything well, you will maintain a job forever.
Yep.
Like, Melvin Gordon was good until his knees truly just completely gave out. Like, you look at guys like him, like, wasn't a superstar in college. People are going to argue that, but he truthfully wasn't. Like, nothing on his tape stands out at an elite level. I'll argue that Henderson has things that do stand out at an elite level, but guys like that just come into the league, they keep a job, they hold it, and then they go retire with millions of dollars in the bank and sipping margaritas on the beach. And bad knees. But hey, they got money. Surgery fixes things. Trust me. I've had plenty.
I have this intrusive thought that Najee Harris is actually another safe running back. I know it's a 1-year contract, but would you like to compare the Los Angeles Chargers offensive line and scheme to the Pittsburgh Steelers of the last 3 years? It's a little different.
I'll take the Chargers on that one for infinite dollars.
And he's kind of running back that coaches love. He's going to turn that 1-yard loss into a 3-yard gain. He's going to pass pro well. He's going to be reliable in the passing game, running his routes. Yeah, I don't know what team he's going to play for in 2026, but I bet he's going to have a starting job, and we're all going to hate him for it.
I would bet a lot of money right now that if he has a solid season, not even a good season, but a solid season, he's just going to stick in Los Angeles, because if he has a solid season, John Harbaugh is going to be needing to change his khakis out of excitement, knowing that he doesn't have to pay him a ton of money and he gets to bring him back again.
Yep. He thought J.K. Dobbins was, off of an Achilles tear, off of an ACL tear, off of an ankle roll, off of a stub toe.
Off his second Achilles tear.
Yeah. He thought that was explosive. So Najee Harris is going to be like NASA to him. It's the only time Najee will ever be considered fast. But let's switch gears a little bit. Let's head over to wide receivers. So, Evan, what makes a wide receiver safe to you? This should be a layup.
I mean, it should be a layup, right? We're talking target consolidation. We're talking high volume targets. We're talking primary option in an offense, period. Tight ends can be primary options in the offenses. Just go back to Trey McBride this past season. Very simple. You're looking for somebody that they're going to in third down situations, somebody that they're looking to get involved in the game early, somebody that can break the long touchdowns. We saw it perfectly this past season with a couple of players. And targets, I mean, look, if you're going to tell me a wide receiver has over 150 targets, odds are they're going to be in contention, if not already putting up wide receiver one, not wide receiver one overall, but wide receiver one numbers.
Yeah, I love just follow the targets, enjoy the ride. The quarterback play will figure itself out. Just bet on the talent, because targets are earned. Jake, what is your vision for a safe wide receiver? Is it a lot of the same things?
Yeah, I can't really get too different here. If you're a good route runner with solid hands and can do what a coach wants you to do on the field, you're going to have a job. I mean, Keenan Allen, prime example. Yep. Truthfully, was never the best wide receiver in football, was always slower than a lot of people, but the dude ran routes like it was his job, because it was. Funny how that works.
Weird.
But ran routes at an elite level, great hands, not going anywhere. Guy like Devontae Adams, another guy who, even as he ages, even though he's clearly not got the same top end of his speed that he's previously had, great route runner, solid hands. Guys like that stick around forever. So truthfully, that's my number one thing when it comes to prospect evaluation. Physical talents are obviously super, super important, especially when it comes to evaluating kind of the high end guys. But it's a reason why I have a guy like Emeka Puka, wide receiver one, versus Tet McMillan. Emeka is a far more refined route runner. He can run any route that you need him to. That kind of thing sticks in the NFL and produces even at really high levels. I mean, look at Ladd. Ladd was clowned on. Dad's for Ladd out here. But I mean, the guy runs routes he's an elite route runner with good physicals and good hands. That will score points, and that will be on a football field for 10 years.
Yep. Ladd McConkey and Emeka Egbuka probably both going to end their career with, let's just pencil in 1,100 targets, 10,000 receiving yards, probably fit them for gold jackets now. But
down.
Yeah, no, same boat. We just want to see separators that are earning targets with that. Evan, who are some safe wide receivers for you? I know Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Let's trickle on down the list a little.
How far do you want to go? Because it seems like I've always been at the top here. We're gonna say the top, and then I'll let you guys work down the list a little bit
Perfect.
here. So I will shout out Puka Nacua. Target consolidation. That is the offense for target consolidation. It could be very real that Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams combine for 48 to 50% of the total targets for Matthew Stafford this year. And if that's the case, they're both probably getting 150 plus targets. We saw, what was it, the Cooper Cup game last year when Puka was out? That was like 22 targets or something like that. If Adams or Puka ever gets hurt, so maybe I'll say both of those guys. Whichever wide receiver is on the field when there isn't one of the other ones on the field, I mean, that's an absolute smash play. Like, you do not have to think when it comes to starting either of those wide receivers. And they're just home runs every single time. You look at Puka Nacua, I think he was second in points per game last year behind Jamar Chase, if I remember correctly here, outscoring Justin Jefferson points per game. That's huge. Plays in a dome. Everybody loves playing in a dome because we know wide receivers that play in domes score a lot of points.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about those bad weather games when it's December and you're in the playoffs because you followed, listened, and liked this episode. Jake, who is your safe wide receiver?
I'm going to name a couple just because I can, and you can't stop me.
Okay.
You do have the ability to mute my mic. But I have a tier of wide receivers in my rankings that have almost all of these guys over consensus rank, and it's because of the skill sets that I just mentioned. But it's Garrett Wilson, Brandon Aiyuk, Drake London, DJ Moore. These are guys that every single time they've been on the football field, they earn targets at a high rate. They're all extremely talented route runners. Some of them have more after the catch ability than others. Some of them have been misused. DJ Moore last year, Shane Waldron, you're an idiot. Oh, excuse me. Don't know where that came from. But yeah, just guys who get on the field, get open, maintain roles for years to come. Some of these guys have contracts. Some of them don't. I don't care. If Garrett Wilson leaves the Jets after this year, one, they're making a giant mistake. Two, it's probably better for him and he gets to go to competent quarterback play. But that level of talent, like Drake London, probably the most hated guy coming into 2024 in a lot of ways, just because people didn't think the upside was there. Mm-hmm. Sometimes upside is a little bit overrated. And a guy like Drake London earning so much volume so consistently, you're going to have those high upside games regardless.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree. He's not the sexy, like, you're watching Red Zone and Jamar Chase just breaks off a 90-yard touchdown. And you're like, well, there's my week for fantasy. I'm playing against him. You're not going to get that with Drake London, but you might get a 2-touchdown game off of, 11 targets for 9 catches and only like 45 yards. But that's okay because it's a PPR league and that'll cook.
But hey, I mean, you even have guys like DJ Moore, like kind of the perpetual, he just needs this, he just needs this, he just needs this guy. And then he gets 1 year with Justin Fields and pumps off 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns, kind of puts it all together, playing in a role that we hadn't really seen him play before. But he got the chance to play in an offense that fit his skill set, which is kind of everything. If Drake London is the next DJ Moore, fine by me.
Yeah, no, I support that. This is going to be your faces while I say this next name. It's not sexy. It's not fun. You're just going to, snooze on the back of your couch, and that's okay. But I want to talk to you guys about Jakobi Meyers. Yeah. We're talking about a safe wide receiver. Jakobi Meyers, the last time he had was on pace for less than 100 targets. 1 year he got 96. I'm deeply sorry, but he was hurt. 2020. If you're going to get a receiver that can get 100 targets, and right now he's going on Fantasy Calc for somewhere a late second and early third, shout out to Fantasy Calc. That's an easy buy for me, and that's the kind of player that you want. It's not going to be that high upside wide receiver 1 season, but it's going to be a very safe PPR floor. And with Geno Smith in town, that is a huge, huge upgrade. Look, if he is putting up what did he put up? 129 targets, 1,027 yards, 4 touchdowns, and that was with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew taking turns comparing their mustaches, which they were fantastic. I think Jakobi Meyers is going to do for a career year, and I can't wait to see it. Go buy him low.
Another guy in the same mold, Michael Pittman, same kind of guy. 2020 is the only year he didn't get or pace for 100 targets, and a guy who just consistently puts up solid numbers.
Yep.
Is he going to be wide receiver 1 overall? No, but he's going to be a high-end wide receiver 2, assuming his back doesn't continue to disintegrate, apparently. That was also the funniest moment of the year. We all get the notification. Michael Pittman out for the season, back injury. A day later, Michael Pittman is starting.
Built different. And I want receivers that are built different because he refuses to quit. I just hope his spine is okay. Let's switch gears. I broke my back. Spinal. Let's switch gears one last time. Let's head over to tight ends. Evan, is there anything different that makes a tight end safe than a wide receiver, or is it just targets and being sick?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty dang similar to the wide receiver grouping here. There's also offenses that run through the tight ends. We've seen this in San Francisco. We've seen it in Kansas City. Now, when those tight ends move on, will that still be the case? That is going to be a whole debate inside of itself. But when you have poor wide receiver rooms around you, or you have wide receiver rooms that do things that are very specific, like get down the field, or really work the outside boundary, or really work the underneath, which is underrated for tight ends to be able to push the seam. But some tight ends are used that way. So these are all things that you really want to look for. There are plenty of tight ends that are the one in their offense. And by plenty, I mean 3.
I'm looking at tight end statistics right now. 3.
Yep. Okay.
So
cool.
Plenty. Just go get one of those 3 guys. Jake, is there anything different that we should be looking for at tight ends?
Yeah, I think if we're truly talking safety at tight end, guys who can block, it keeps you on the field more. Obviously, it's not the most sexy thing in the world, but if you can catch passes well, you're decent enough after the catch, and you can block, you're going to have a Jason Witten, Zach Ertz style career where you're just around forever. We forget about you, and then Zach Ertz comes out and puts up a top 10 tight end season out of nowhere off of, I think, a torn ACL. Like,
he doesn't care.
Yeah, if you're a guy like that, like, sure, you're not going to have that superstar upside, but honestly, I'm so rarely chasing that at the tight end position. Give me my 10 to 11 points, and I'm happy with you. And I typically have one guy on my bench anyway who's going to be that upside play, like a Tucker Kraft, who, he's going to have his weeks. Am I going to pick him right? Probably not, but we can try.
You can definitely do your best. The Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave battles of 2023 will not be forgotten. Evan, who is your safe tight end? And if you say Brock Bowers or Trey McBride, I will cry.
No, those guys honestly are maybe I'll get some flack for this, but they're overvalued currently. But moving on to the safe tight end, I'm going to go with David Njoku. You look at this wide receiver group, you look at the fact that they're likely going to be behind in a lot of games. You look at the running back room, you wonder what they have at running back. They are looking like they're either going to have Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco starting at quarterback this coming season, which last time I checked, neither of those guys are very mobile, which means they're probably not going to be running a ton, taking some volume away. So you pair being behind with a poor / questionable wide receiver room. Talks are that they will add Travis Hunter, so hopefully that will boost up the wide receiver room if that does come to fruition here. But David Njoku is a tight end that, sure, there is going to be some injury. Historically, that has been the case with him. But when he's healthy and he's on the field, we're talking a guy that is putting up points that are top 6, top 8 type production. So when he's healthy, you know when to start him. You don't have to guess, hey, is this going to be his spike week? Is this not going to be his spike week? Because he gets the targets over the middle and he can push the field, which opens up so much for that offense.
That makes sense. I actually didn't talk about what makes a tight end safe to me, and it's the freak athleticism to take any play for a touchdown. Look, your tight ends are probably only getting 4 or 5 targets a game. I'm sorting for 2024, only 4 tight ends got more than 100 targets, and only 4 more got over 90. Like, you're not going to get a bunch of guys that are out there just voluming their way to touchdowns and to upside. Like, go get somebody that can actually make a week for you, because all of them are going to have their duds. I would rather bet on somebody like Njoku who can take it to the house. But Jake,
You guys heard it from Mike first. Theo Johnson 101.
man,
I'm going to talk about a freak athlete.
Yeah.
Athlete at tight end. 10
More
out of
of
10 RAS score.
more of a Brenninger guy. I think he had a 9.99 RAS, so that's tough.
I thought it was Zach Kuntz, right?
Oh, brother. All right. Jake, who is your quote unquote safe tight end in a world full of scary tight ends?
It's Evan Ingram. Again, much like Evan talked about, the guy just puts up points. He gets targets. He has that big play upside. He can take it to the house. He has some of that elite athleticism. In seasons where Daniel Jones has not been his quarterback, he's been a top 12 tight end every single year. Last year, not only did Trevor Lawrence get hurt, he also got hurt. He still averaged tight end 1 production at 9.9 PPR points per game, wide receiver or tight end 12 overall. If you remove last year, though, without Daniel Jones as his quarterback, he has never finished worse than tight end 7 in PPR. He has always been tight end 7 or better in points per game in PPR. That is the epitome of safe to me. And you never have and never will have to pay top 7 tight end prices for Evan Ingram, which is my favorite part about him. So the investment in him is safe because I'm not paying elite prices, but I know that I have that upside of elite tight end production, especially if you look at a stretch of the season, like in 2023, he started out with 4 straight top 7 games after the injuries to the wide receiver room. From week 12 on, tight end 10, tight end 2, tight end 1, dud week 26. We'll ignore that one. Tight end 3, tight end 9, and then in week 18, tight end 1. Like, the guy has that upside to be the guy in an offense. And like Evan talked about with the wide receivers, target consolidation, a guy who's going to be on the field, being a guy in a room with bad wide receivers. Is there a truly talented wide receiver in Denver right now?
Yep.
Sure. Cortland Sutton, maybe. But past that, like Troy Franklin, nothing special. Devon Vele, nothing special. I don't think I can name another wide receiver on that roster at current date.
Hey,
but
Marvin Mims, come on.
I said wide receiver, not special teams guy. But like a guy like him going into elite, like a historically elite offense for tight ends, like we watched what Sean Payton has done with tight ends over and over and over again. I'll admit it was mostly Jimmy Graham, but still, you're talking elite athlete. So he meets what you like, Mike. Can be the one in an offense, has consistently shown that he can be the one in an offense, or at least, the 2, which is what we need for high-end production, like Evan likes. I think I picked the perfect tight end here.
Yeah. No, I love Evan Ingram. Right now on our friends at Fantasy Calc, Evan Ingram. Oh, I gotta scroll down. Evan Ingram is the tight end 14 behind Isaiah Likely. So
if Dalton Kincaid is in front of him too.
He is. So if you have Dalton Kincaid, if you have Kyle Pitts,
go trade every single one of those guys for Evan Ingram in a second and just do it for Evan Ingram in a 4th and walk away happy, because you're getting the better player who doesn't suck at football and you're getting a pick. It's a win-win.
Yeah.
Hey,
I would
get
love
rid
that.
of Tucker Kraft,
I love you.
Whoa, Evan. All right. Well,
thaumaturgy to yell at Evan. No.
Roll a D20. Actually, that's our other podcast. But I'm going to bring up one last guy. I know this is kind of a cop-out, but Evan took a lot of cop-outs earlier, so I'm going to steal it up from his book. Here is a list of all the players that had 1,000 receiving yards with less than 100 targets last year. A.J. Brown, good at football?
Pretty good.
Nico Collins, good at football?
When he's healthy.
Jamison Williams had 1,001 yards.
Don't count him.
but also deep threat. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You know who the fourth guy is?
George Kittle.
George Kittle.
George freaking Kittle. And he's going to keep doing it, and he's going to continue to.
And hey, what did I say?
He's on the field because he run blocks. Yep, he's on the field because he can block. He can be the 1 or the 2 in the offense. We'll see what's up with McCaffrey's Achilles. We'll see what's up with Aiyuk's knee. We'll see what's up with Ricky Pearsall and his off-duty activities. Let's hope that he stays safe. George Kittle can turn any play into a touchdown, and it plays in one of the best offenses in football. I do not care how old he is. He's going to keep doing it until he decides not to. It's just everything that you would want in a tight end, and you're getting a little bit of a veteran discount at this time of the year. If you can pivot off of some of those higher-priced guys, let's see, some of the guys that are in front of him. Tyler Warren, I love, but are we sure that he's going to be over? Let's see, you can get George Kittle Tyler Warren, or you can have George Kittle in an early second.
Kittle in an early second.
Yeah.
Hey, talking about Tyler Warren, I would love to see the chaos of Tyler Warren in San Francisco. That'd be a lot of fun.
The best part is that you're not even losing that much age. Like George Kittle's been in the league for 8 years, and he's only like 6 years older.
Oh, brother. That's tough but true. Like Sam Laporta's in front of him. There's a lot of Sam Laporta supporters out there. Please don't kill me. But like, is he really that good, or does he just play on a good offense in a dome and caught a bunch of touchdowns?
He's the Zach Ertz mold that I was talking about. Like he sits in soft zones, gets open, can block, will score some touchdowns. He's safe. He should have never been tight end 1.
Yep.
And I will die on that hill.
So if we want to correct a little bit, go get you some outside, maybe get a first on top, restock the rest of your roster, and really push in the chips for 2025. I would love to do that in any leagues that I still have Laporta in. Tight ends, the streets are barren, but hopefully these names were able to help you. If you've listened this far, head over to Dubby, get some jitterless energy. That's what I need when the streets are tough. Use code FFRPG at checkout. Jake, what are you drinking? Or what did you drink today?
It's the watermelon lemonada hydration that they have. It's like their electrolyte blend.
Is it good?
Really good. A lot of the electrolyte blends get super salty because obviously electrolytes are salt. But it's very balanced. It's very good. I've been sipping on it all day since I picked it up. And this is not a plug because I picked this up before I was even on the pod.
Delightful. So listen to Jake, listen to the pod. Be sure to like and subscribe. And Evan, I love you. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Football RPG Podcast. If you made it this far, be sure to like and subscribe. If you want to check out written content, head over to lastwordonsports.com.
Don't the goblins get you.